My guest today is Mr. Kev Mac. Kev Mac is the author of Sprung, Memoirs of a Legendary Gambler. He is the founder and CEO of Allhood Publications. Kev Mac is a creative entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Kev Mac Videos. Kev Mac, how you doing today?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's an honor to have you on the show. I've been following you for years, and I'm really excited to have you on the show. I know you're a busy person. I'm just very thankful for you to be here.
Okay. Appreciate you having me.
Okay, so let's get right into it. You're a creative person. You're someone who thinks out of the box. Sometimes when we're like that, it's hard for people to understand us and for people to know our vision and know where we're going in life and going with an idea. Have you ever experienced where you went to your friends and told them about Allhood Publications and Kev Mac Videos, and they just don't understand, and they try to talk you out of it or tell you, maybe you should do something else? That's not going to work. Have you ever experienced that?
Absolutely. Quite a few people I took it to. Actually, a guy whose name is real hot right now in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
entertainment industry, and on TV. He recently had a documentary, Hip Hop Uncovered, and his name is Big U. I took the magazine idea to Big U when he got out of prison because Big U knows everybody.
Right.
And I mean, when I say everybody, I mean he knows everybody. And then his name is pretty big. He has a nice reputation as far as being able to network and get things done. I took it to him, and he was like, "Man, nobody reads magazines. Nobody wanna deal with any gang stuff." And so that kind of hurt my morale because I thought he would jump on that and we would blow up and be big. A couple of other people I talked to, they try to deter me, but I had a couple people that encouraged me. One being a friend of mine named One Shot. He's part of Team Mayweather. He's real close with Floyd. And my uncle, I had an uncle that had experience in magazines. He encouraged me to go ahead and get it done. So yeah, I experienced both sides.
So what would you say to somebody who's wants to start a magazine or videos or something that's new that hasn't been done before, and they're facing that negative criticism? What would your advice be?
My advice is to go with your passion. If it's something you like to do, something that you're serious about, just pursue it. If we listen to the negative people, we'll never get anything done in life because people are always going to criticize you no matter what you do.
Right. That's true.
Well, let me say this before you go to the next question. I would encourage anybody that's trying to get a magazine off the ground or videos, make sure you have an outlet to market it or advertise it. That's always helpful.
So what do you do? Or so once you move past it and you follow your dream and your destiny, do you come back to these people, or do you just let it go and you have a grudge and say, well, I'll just show them? I mean,
Me personally, I have a little bit of grudge. I don't just disfriend somebody. I don't not listen to them anymore. But there's a part of me to say, yeah, I'll show you.
right, right. And I mean, that can work, in your favor. That can help fuel the fire. I mean, was that your case where you just you work a little harder so just to show people that they were wrong?
Yeah, not so much my friends. I can't name one friend that I want to show up and say, look what I did. But subscribers or people that may run across the magazine or a video that's negative, that drives me. In fact, I did an interview with a guy that helped edit my book. I have a book out called Sprung. That focuses more on gambling, but the fact that the editor was saying to me that he said, I noticed you used to be easily discouraged, and now it drives you. And so that's what it does. When people that I don't really know try to interact with me but shoot me down, it actually drives me.
That's great. That's great. Um, I watch your videos, and you're really a great interviewer. Uh, where'd you get your training? Did you learn to interview people in school, or by watching other videos, or just by trial and error?
Trial and error. Everything I've done has been hands-on trial and error. Um, and then too, like I do get a lot of compliments, like you just said, or people that feel that way. But I do have a partner that asks a lot of the questions as well.
Mm.
He's a little younger than me, but I've known him since he was a kid, and we kind of came up together in everything we do, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so we just piggyback off each other. He kind of lets me do my thing, and I let him do his thing, but we're on the same page. As far as me personally, yeah, I have my own thoughts of how I want to conduct the interview, and I don't have questions written down. I don't want to ask everybody the same questions because everybody's different. And in most cases, I know these people's background from either which area they from, the community, the gang, or what have you. And so I don't want to ask the same questions to everybody. So
Do
that
you
helps.
how much time do you spend researching people and preparing for these interviews? Do you just wake up and say, hey, I'm just going to call somebody and interview them? Or do you research them? Or what goes into an interview?
I personally have never done actual research on a person as far as what accomplishments or bad things they've done in their life. The research that I've done is just natural, like as if you was to call your sister or your brother and just have a conversation with them. That's all the preparation I have for an interview is just knowing if a person's legit, if the person lies, if he exaggerates, if they think he'll be a good interview. But for the most part, see what's unique about me and my vision is these are guys like, for example, like you may have grown up playing baseball or playing tennis. You know who the good baseball players are in your neighborhood. You
Right.
know who the good baseball players are at your park that you played at. Well, that's the same with me. So I've heard names over the years, over the decades of these different people. Some I may have met, some I may not have met, but you 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 know what I'm saying? You know the background on them just naturally, just from growing up in the community.
Now, you interview some people with some very difficult backgrounds, difficult history. How do you make these are people who generally have like a code where they don't talk about what they've done. How do you get people to relax and to confide in you and to get you to get them to interview with you?
It's funny that you asked that question because probably 80% of them, 8 out of 10 people, are probably real nervous and won't open up to me at first.
Hmm.
But once I start asking them questions, they become comfortable. Not only do they admit to me that they became comfortable, but the people that may be there watching the interview are amazed at how comfortable I make the people when I interview them. But I think it's just the fact that they understand that I know the culture. They understand that I'm not out trying to solve crimes or make them look bad. I think that plays a big part in my interview skills.
How many people just flat out refuse to interview with you?
Oh man, I couldn't put a number on it, but it's been a lot.
You hold grudges against them? Do you just let it pass, or do you kind of go back and try to get them to interview you with you at a later time?
There's probably only one guy that really upset me about not doing the interview. And I have a project in the works. I don't know if we'll talk about that later. So for now, I won't spoil it. But um, I have tried to reach out to that guy for a project I have coming up. I haven't successfully been able to talk to him. Other than that, there's other guys. There's a lot of rappers I try to interview that didn't want to do interviews. I was a little upset, but I'm not holding a grudge to where I wouldn't interview them or go back and holler at them at another time. But here go the thing. a lot of people, and I'm not mad at them. This is what they should do. This is what everybody should do. They look at my subscribers and they look at my views, and I believe it that came out and said, he doesn't have enough viewership. And I'm not mad at that, but the thing is, if you look at the platform and understand, like you said, people don't understand our vision. But if you try to understand it, you can see this is going to be something big later on. And it's something that's going to always be around because there's so many people trying to research for the information that I'm getting out of these cats that I interview. And so my viewership was small. I was stuck around 27,000 for a long time, and then like close to 40,000. That wasn't enough for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But now I'm at 100,000, and I don't have to worry about reaching out to people. Now people reach out to me.
Now, do you get people who don't flat out refuse to interview with you, but they just beat around the bush and say, "Oh, I'll call you next week," or "I got something to do this week, maybe not right now." Can you feel that? Do you get that, first of all? And can you feel when people are just just trying to beat around the bush and not really coming out and telling you?
I've had a couple people do that. One would be Cynthia Nunn. She's an older woman from Compton, but they eventually do an interview with me though, because let's just keep it real, man. A lot of people have went to other platforms for interviews and they're not happy with the way the interview came out. And so at that point, they realize, yeah, Kev Mac is where I should have went to begin with.
Right. Now you have 100,000 subscribers, maybe even a little more, and all your videos get over triple digit, views, 100,000, 600,000. Do you have a target audience?
Vaguely, but not really. Coming from my background in magazine, and I'm pretty sure you know this, you want a target audience, you want an age, you want a region, you want a particular culture, what have you. But with me, when you look at the analytics of the people that watch my videos, man, the ages range from like 19 to 66 years old. And it's all over America and in other countries. So I don't really know my target audience other than people that's into the history of gangs.
Now, when you first started Kev Mac videos, did you have any idea that you would have this many viewers?
I don't know if you want to call me naive or thinking way higher, but I actually thought I would have a lot more.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why is because I feel like, or I should say, I knew that we would come to this point where everybody want to know about gangs. And the particular names that have been mentioned in people like Monster Cody's book and Tookie's book, Blue Rage, Black Redemption. And all these different documentaries, and even some of these rappers that claim or are actually gang members. So I thought, everybody would jump on it quick, and then looking at other YouTube pages or even websites on the internet, I feel like my stuff would be more authentic and reputable names and bring in faces, like I said, from Monster Cody's book, Tookie's book, and other books. Colton Simpson is another one. Bringing the faces, putting a face to these names. Man, I thought I would blow up. I thought I would have at least 250,000 subscribers off the top. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually surprised there's only 100,000, and I know the reason why.
What's the reason?
Well, I think I know the reason why. I think there's 3 reasons. I think number 1, a lot of YouTubers, the content creators, are buying subscriptions. Mm-hmm. I believe they're buying views. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, I think YouTube is kind of hating on me. And I didn't want to believe that. I believed and trusted in YouTube so much, but now I have other people telling me that YouTube is hating on me. It's hard for them to find my videos when they Google them or when they go to YouTube search. and they need to be more specific, or they have to just go to my channel. And the third, which I figured out on my own, and just about everybody I've spoken to agrees with me, it's a lot of people that just hate. Here's this light-skinned guy from a nice neighborhood that hasn't served time for murder, that's not in nobody's book. Like, who is this guy? He's nobody. And so what they do is they peek. What I mean by peek is they'll look at videos, but they refuse to subscribe. They just don't want to see me have those numbers, because in their mind, oh, he's successful now.
Right, right. So, what's the solution? What are you going to do about that? Do you have a plan, a marketing plan? Do you have someone who does your marketing? Do you think it's time to take another step? Because this, in the business that you're in, you always have to grow and look for other opportunities. Do you see this as, an obstacle that you have to conquer?
No, I don't see it as an obstacle I have to conquer. I've always been myself, and I'm not about the rah rah rah. Like, I don't take two people that's into a argument or a fight or hate each other for views. I don't look to exploit somebody that's popular right now or popping on social media for views. I don't do that. And no, to your answer, no, I don't have a marketing strategy or anything like that. Of course, nowadays on social media, you can promote your own stuff easily,
Mhm.
but I'm not doing that. But I think the best answer to those questions you just put together would be, my next step is actually TV.
Okay.
So that's why I'm not so focused or worried about strengthening my YouTube channel. Now, I think once I have my show on TV, I think people will automatically come subscribe and look at the videos, because they will become more curious. Who's this Kev Mac guy, and what has he been doing? How did he get to this point? So I think it'll work itself out as far as YouTube. But as long as I'm on TV, that my focus will be TV, not YouTube.
Now you were on a major show. What was it? Hip Hop
Uncovered.
Uncovered.
Uh-huh.
Now, being behind the scenes, did you learn anything? Did you see anything that's going to help you in the future?
There was definitely something I'm gonna learn in the future, and I've already started working on it.
Okay.
The thing is this, I got in a situation. Now, this may not mean much to you or the audience, but it means a lot to me and my community. Being behind the camera, the producers, now I may be wrong about their background, but I'm just telling you from my opinion. I'm talking to a bunch of square dudes, a bunch of people that went to school for whatever, education, for
Right.
film, whatever, technical, audio, and all, whatever, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started filming on La Brea and Slauson that
Okay.
morning. We moved down to Arlington and Slauson, where we filmed for 5 hours.
Okay.
So now they're interviewing me, and they asked me, well, I don't even remember what the question was, but I think I'm talking to some people that doesn't know the community. They're from outside the community, Compton, Long Beach, etc., maybe Hollywood. And so I tell them that the rolling 60s turf expands from Arlington to La Brea. Now, if you're following along, that's where we filmed, from
Mm-hmm.
Arlington to La Brea.
Right.
So I'm trying to explain to them that this is the community. Well, in the neighborhood, they felt that was a diss. They felt I left everybody outside of that range.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to answer your question directly, I learned that when you're in front of that camera, you have to speak as if you're speaking to millions of people, and you have to explain it all, because they're not going to do it for you. And if it's not your project, you have no control over the editing. If I was part of that editing team, or I was a producer on that show, that would have never went in there. And so now you got a lot of people mad at me, thinking I disrespected them, or I was set tripping when I wasn't.
Right. Now, when you do become a big time TV director or producer, are you prepared to answer to the suits, to people who make those decisions and, who may cut something out that you see is very valuable? Are you prepared to deal with that?
Well, in I could only speak to my case with the show that I'm expecting to have that we're working on now.
Mm,
I'm gonna have full control over all of that.
okay.
It's actually my show.
Okay.
Now, of course, I'll have people working with me that's helping me get there, and a production team, Ice T as it's going to be my narrator. But even like Ice T told me, he said, Kev, you have to be in the editing room. And he told the other people that's working with me, you guys have to listen to Kev, what Kev say goes. And so that's what I'm going by. Um, and if that changes, I'll just politely back up out of it. I
So,
mean, let me clarify something.
mm,
If it changes to where there's something I don't want in there that's put in there, then I'm sorry, I got to back up out of it
okay. So how did the producers find you from
from my
uh,
videos.
from the videos?
Yes. Or
Okay.
are you talking about the producers from FX? From
Right. How did they find you? They found you from the
uh,
videos?
probably from Big U, but they were aware of the videos because they talked to me about some of the interviews and they liked my interview style.
Okay, so the videos is very powerful, and it has its purpose. So you did a good job there of making it happen that way. So let me ask you something. You are noted for starting a publication called Allhood Publications.
Yes, sir.
How did that come about?
A variety of ways, but really the one that I like to point to is the fact that I always felt like we need to cover our own history and tell our own stories. But I actually had an uncle that, as I mentioned earlier, he had a magazine. And so when I seen that he could make a magazine, it wasn't so hard to actually create a magazine. I wanted to do something like that. And so I took the idea to some of my friends and told them what I wanted to do. And um, actually, yes, that's it right there. That's Nipsey on the cover. That's issue 6, where the streets and hip hop meet. And so I had mentioned it to One Shot, the guy I mentioned earlier with Floyd Mayweather, and he said, "Hold on." He walked to the car and came back with a Feds magazine and a Don Diva magazine. And I said, that's it right there. That's what I'm gonna do. But mine is gonna be a West Coast version. So that played a big deal. That's Ice T on the cover, a friend of mine. And so I wanted to make ours West Coast because again, not just because we're black, but also because we're on the West Coast, I wanted to tell our story and allow a platform for people of LA to share their story.
Okay, so what you did was even more amazing because you took it to a whole nother creative level. And when I saw this, I was like, man, how did you come up with this concept? And then you flip it over and bam,
Okay, so
that was genius.
you're talking about the blue and red concept. So this is how
Yeah.
I come up with that. So when I'm doing that one with Tyrese on the cover and J Rock, a Watts edition, I wanted to cover, and that's 211 with Nipsey on the other side, right? So I wanted to cover the Grape Street Crips and the Bounty Hunters. And so the guy that was helping do my graphics, he was supposedly a blood from Watts, from the Nickerson Gardens.
Mm.
And so he was offended that I wanted Tyrese and Canary Diamond and them on the cover, and the cover was blue.
Mm.
So I'm like, that's my choice. It's my magazine. It's my creation. So I thought about it and I said, well, I know how I can make everybody happy. You have a blue side and a red side. And that's how that came about.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep, and that is something that is just I don't know. It's like historical, and you know, it's a collector's item. I have them. I have your magazines on my coffee table, you know, in my living room, and everyone who sees it is just really, really amazed and taken back. First by the content, and then how well put it, you know, it was made, how it was, you know, put together. If there wasn't an All Hood Publications, would there be Kev Mac videos?
Yes, but would it have as many subscribers? I doubt it. Would it have as many people buying into my ideology? No, I don't think so. All Hood Publications basically launched Kev Mac videos as far as to the general public. Now, in my community and amongst my family and friends, they already knew what I was doing. I was doing videos and stuff before the magazine and, of course, before YouTube. But the general public would have never known my background or what I was focusing on or who I was had it not been for the magazine.
Right now, you're a very talented and creative person, creative thinker. I know that when you were younger, you did videos even before there were YouTube. You interviewed people.
Right.
You also are a really good photographer, amateur photographer. You know, I thought the magazine was good because you could put all your skills together, and you know, showcase all your skills. Is there something in the videos that you in Kev Mac videos that you feel you're missing that you would like to, you know, it just doesn't capture everything that you can do?
Uh, Probably just the reenactments and probably the fact that if there were more celebrities, whether it was in the reenactments or whether it was them telling the stories, I think that would be bigger for Kev Mac videos. Because what I learned from this is, and looking at other people's success, they have big names in the industry. You know, all it takes is like one video, and then you're going to get a whole bunch of those people's fans to come watch and subscribe and stuff. So I think that's what I'm lacking. Other than that, off the top of my head, I don't think there's anything else, um, other than maybe a studio where I don't have to hear cars pulling up and people yelling during the middle of the interview. Hey, what's up? What's up? You know, that type of stuff, and kids screaming and yelling and dogs barking. That's about it.
So you touched on this before, but if you had to do the magazine all over again, what would be the first thing that you would do differently? Because the magazine business is a tough, tough business.
It's a tough business, and I think I was conquering it for a second. Um, I It just wasn't consistent, and so let me get to your question. I would find somebody that can actually market it, and somebody that can actually put it on shelves, a publisher,
Mm-hmm.
because it was self-published.
Right.
And I don't have a problem with self-publishing. I know other people that self-publish books and magazines, as I did myself. But I just feel like the Florida region, the New York region, the Texas region, Ohio region, Illinois, Michigan, I feel like Colorado, Nevada, everywhere, Oregon, Washington, I feel like they could have got them on shelves out there, and more people would have been buying it, like people was buying the Don Divas and Wheels magazine and Lowrider magazine and stuff like that.
Now, do you have a business plan for the magazine? Did you ever develop a business plan?
I did not. No.
And now that you are moving into television and you got 100,000 subscribers and people are watching you on YouTube, do you think, or is it in, do you have a plan to maybe go back and start All Hood Publications again? I mean, would you do it again if you had a big backer, big financial backer?
You know, I actually wouldn't be hands-on if I did. I actually get this question a lot. I mean, I get it. It's a very common question. Um, Me getting older and even looking at my family members that I used to kind of to myself laugh at for wearing glasses. I have to wear reading glasses now. And I really just don't like to wear them. I can't keep up with them when I set them down. And so, and they end up kind of hard on my eyes at night. And so I don't want to do any writing anymore. I don't want to do any typing or none of that anymore. And then, um, and this is what I probably should have mentioned earlier. I feel like it's kind of important. My uncle told me about getting a layout for the magazine, which was InDesign. Without InDesign, I could have never made a magazine, but that helped you format the magazine so easily and correctly.
Mhm.
And so, even with InDesign, I'm gonna have to use my eyes. I'm gonna need a big computer and probably my glasses to get all the bleed, the lines, and everything just right. So the only thing that would get me to go back and do a magazine, what I would have to have, like you said, with big backing behind it, I would have to have writers, photographers, and I would oversee the layout. Without that, I would never go back into that.
Well, you made fun of your relatives for having glasses, and that's what you get for talking about people with glasses.
Well, not only that, and that's why you have to be careful in life when you talk about people
Uh-huh.
in a negative manner or laugh at them,
Right.
because I have a niece as well.
Mhm.
I have a niece that wore glasses. We laughed at her. Like I said, I didn't laugh at everybody, just to myself, but we laughed at my niece. And then we have a niece that's Indian, Chimawavy. So
Mhm.
I would always clown her, joke about her, make her mad and cry, and sometimes my mother would join in just in fun. And then I find out we got Indian heritage just like a couple months ago. So
Uh, mhm.
things happen.
Yeah. So, who was your first interview at for All Hood Publications? Do you remember?
Uh, Probably it had to be Ice T was
Okay.
probably the first interview,
Mhm.
and Haki. Haki is a Swahili name for a brother I know that did a life sentence for murder. He's out on the streets now doing good, and he gave me the history of the Athens Park Bloods. Those would be the first two interviews I've done as far as the magazine goes.
And how did you feel doing it? Were you nervous? Were you afraid?
No, because the guy in prison, we did the interview through mail.
Okay.
Ice T, we did it over the phone and through email.
Okay.
No, I wasn't nervous about that.
Do you ever get
Actually,
jitters before or get a little nervous before you interview people? Or is it just, just routine?
it's pretty routine. Um, I can't really think of any instances where I was nervous, but I'm always aware of my surroundings.
Right. Now, which Kev Mac video has the highest views?
Monster Cody.
Monster. And kind of obvious, but why do you think that is?
Because he's well known. A lot of people think, or the aura of him being a monster is so attractive to people, and the fact that he talks about gang violence in prison, whereas a lot of people have never been to prison or never been part of a gang, find the things he talk about intriguing. Um, and then on top of that, my personal belief is he's a good interview.
Yeah.
He's very descriptive, very detailed, and he's very smart.
Yeah.
He's awfully smart.
Did he trust you right off the bat, or what
I
was
don't
his,
think he
what did
did.
he think?
I don't think he did.
Mhm.
I really don't think he did. But I just don't think he did. But there was no situation where he was like acting scary or anything, acting like he was in harm's way. But it just seemed real uncomfortable for him at first. Until we sat down and talked, and I think like everybody else, I think he got real comfortable.
Which one has been your favorite Kev Mac uh, interview?
Actually, a lot of them are my favorites. Cutes, Cutes would be one of my favorites, but Monster Cody, it wouldn't be popular to say where I'm from, but Monster Cody was definitely one of the best interviews I've done. And to 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 expand on your question, Big U, Nipsey Hussle, and Pretty Boy are my top four. Those are my top four interviews. Now the thing about Pretty Boy is he's the heir apparent to Monster Cody. Him and Monster Cody were friends that became enemies. So
Mm.
that's what makes his story so interesting. Big U, like I opened up with, big name, reputable, everybody know of him. And Nipsey, just the way he was killed, man, in cold blood in front of his store in the neighborhood, the intersection that he made so popular.
Mm.
Um, and now he's not here no more to do interviews. So I think that's what made his interview so popular as well.
Now, how did you uh, get a chance to interview him? I was watching one of your videos, and the way I understand it is that people were telling him that you need to interview with this dude. You know, it seemed like he didn't really want to do it, but everybody in the neighborhood was telling him, "Yo, man, you need to interview with him." Is that the truth?
Um, I don't know how he felt about that. I knew him. I met Nipsey in 2003, and we've been nothing but good friends. I didn't run with him, obviously, because he's younger, and I just didn't know him prior to 2003. But he was always willing to do an interview with me, as far as I know. But it did seem like it was pressure on him whether he should or shouldn't do the interview. And I remember one day he approached me. He actually approached me around the time of the interview in 2007. And he says, hey man, he said, people talking about that magazine you got, man, they don't think it's cool.
Mm.
And I was like, what you mean? He like, man, they just saying I'm just giving you information that people talking about the magazine ain't cool. So I think that may have been something he was worried about. Like, I don't want to be part of that because he's in issue 6. So it was 5 magazines already out before that.
Right,
So I
right.
think he was second guessing whether he should be in the magazine or not.
Okay, my favorite video and interview is with a gang member called Barefoot Pookie.
Okay. A
Man,
legend.
when I saw that, I was like, dude, that dude's for real. He, he was always like a myth or legend,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, there really is a Barefoot Pookie, man. Tell me about that interview, just real quickly.
Well, I wrote in the magazine the issue, I believe 3 with Freeway Rick on the cover. I
Mm,
don't know if you had that with the Harlem Crips.
yeah.
And so Pookie, back in the early 70s, Pookie started a gang called the Godfathers. And the Godfathers ended up, they were way like on Century and Western in that area. And they went all the way down to the Harlems, the 30s, 60 something blocks, and merged with them. And that's how you get the Harlem Godfathers. And so Pookie got wind of the magazine and was like, I gotta talk to Kev, man. I gotta meet this dude because his information ain't right.
Mm.
And that's what I dwell on. I dwell on the facts. I try to get the facts or as close to the facts as possible. Whereas a European American write about us and he's nowhere near the facts. He just looks at a sequence of events and then he draws his own opinion and he writes it as a fact. And so Pookie, I get in touch with Pookie and we meet up and I do that first interview with Pookie. But I laugh because you're absolutely right. Whatever your background is probably a lot different from my background, but we still have the same experience. This was like some mythical dude.
Yeah.
You only heard of him, you never seen him.
Right.
And it was always another rumor that was out there was he walks around barefoot.
He
And
didn't.
so we come from LA, we laugh at that. Like, what
Uh-huh.
dude walks around barefoot? Like, we don't do that.
Right.
And when I meet him, that was actually a true story. There was a period of time in his life where he walked around barefooted.
Yeah, I think he was from Mississippi or something. He was from the country or something.
Ohio somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, I read that. I was, that was amazing to me. I was like, damn, there really is a barefoot Pookie.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, are you a gang historian or are you just a historian? How do you want to be looked at?
Gang historian.
Okay, so you don't dabble outside the gang culture? At some point, do you think maybe that might mix or what?
Probably just
Mm,
the migration, or maybe a little bit of American history, so I can correlate things and draw comparisons.
right.
But um, even in saying my title as gang historian, I don't really like that title because when you start talking about gang historian, now I need to know Hispanic, Latino, the Mexicans' history. And
Right.
so I try not to dibble and dab too much into their stuff because they go back to the 1920s in
Mm,
some cases. So I like to say I'm a Crip and Blood historian.
okay. So one thing I'm gonna ask you that I that I really enjoy what is your Kev Mac intro. I mean, you got your own theme song. How many people have that? Can you can you tell me how that came about?
A guy named Fitzgerald Jr. from Alabama. He hit me up on the email. He said, "Hey, bro, can you check out these songs?" People do that all the time. I'm like, man, I'm not interested, because for one, I'm older and that stuff just hurts your ears. And so he responds back. He said, "Okay, I appreciate it, but if you could just listen to my music, I'd appreciate it." So he was respectful with it. So I went ahead and listened. I was like, "Oh man, that's cool." So he said, "Thank you." He said, "If you ever need anything, let me know." So I responded, "As a matter of fact, I do. I need a theme song." And boom, he put it together and I loved it. And everybody else seems to love it too.
I love it too. Can we buy it somewhere? Can we
Yes, it's
refer
on
to it?
all digital streaming platforms.
Okay. Because
Kev Mac Videos intro by Fitzgerald Godwin. I also have a remix that's a matter of fact, I also have a song on Barefoot Pookie.
oh really?
Fitzgerald Godwin, Fitzgerald Jr., he also made that song, but I also put out a remix of that as well.
Okay.
Um, it's called Barefoot Pookie. It's on his may be on all digital streaming platforms. Mine is on most streaming platforms.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great song. Also too, where can I get a Kev Mac sweatshirt? Can you just buy that or what?
I have a website, um, bigcartel.com, Kev Mac. I'm not sure the actual address. I know you could go to kevmaconline.com
Mm.
and it'll direct you to the website. Um, I don't sell a lot of stuff because it's a hassle for me, but when I do get new shipments in, it goes quick. People like to wear Kev Mac stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get me some. So next time we do an interview, I'm gonna be sporting my Kev Mac sweatshirt.
Okay, all right.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What can we look forward to?
On television, hopefully 4 years into season 4 of television, which would be Kev Mac videos on steroids. Meaning, so now when I interview somebody, like if I'm interviewing you and you telling me about playing with your dog as a kid, we want to have a kid playing with a dog.
Okay. And for me, I would love to see you do the magazine again. I mean, that magazine was awesome. And it's just something about having that on your table or having it in your hand, having that
Mhm.
history in your hand, I think that's great. And hopefully one day you'll do that again and find somebody, a staff to do that for you.
I appreciate that. Let me tell you this one thing about when you mentioned, I could showcase my different skills all in one place. That actually, all of those skills that you speak of was actually meant for prison.
Mm,
So now I can instead of having to write prison letters and send pictures to prison and tell people what's going on out here in the real world, I could put it all in a magazine, just send a magazine. So I didn't have to worry about writing everybody and sending everybody pictures and stuff like that. So that's really what all of that was in the magazine, the tattoos, the prison mail, just everything in one place.
Yeah, that's very creative, and you know, that's took a lot of thought, and that's you know, you did a great job with that. Well,
Appreciate it.
I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been my pleasure, and hopefully I can have you back when you have that show, that TV show. Have you back on the show?
All right, I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks a lot. I
Have
appreciate
a
it.
good one. Thanks for having me.